Welcome to Teka Teka. And in this episode, we will share our thoughts on what President Bongbong Marcos did and did not say at his third State of the Nation address. I'm Jill Caro, executive producer of Teka Teka. And today, I'm joined by Pumapadka CEO Carl Javier
Hello.
and Teka Teka reporter Bella Perez Rubio.
Hi.
Okay. So first of all, Bella and Carl, gusto ko lang malaman kung ano ba yung ah rating ninyo sa speech ni Marcos this year. Based on mga initial comments from social media, may mga nagsasabi na this is his most emotional. So I don't know if you agree with that. Let me hear your thoughts. Let's start with Carl.
Hindi ko alam kung emotional kasi honestly, I think it's actually a well-delivered speech. Two, it's very long. I don't know about you guys, pero at some point, na nag-enumerate lang siya ng project, medyo nag-zone out ako. But if we think, and we'll get to the content of the speech later, no? But if we think of a speech as a rhetorical tool to convince people of something, the SONA is meant to shore up support and to show that you have the political capital and the political wherewithal to lead the country. Again, we're coming from a low bar from the past president, and we've also lowered the bar for this President Marcos. All of that said, okay naman siya. He went long, but he was very confident. He did a lot of code switching. I don't know how to feel about that. I guess feeling niya mas nakakalapit sa tao. I don't know about the emotional, but I think it was a well-delivered speech, if that's what we're talking about sa ratings. Bella, ikaw muna before I add anything else there.
Yeah, I think I don't know emotional. I don't know if that's just something that I didn't catch. But for me, I think what he got right was tone. And I actually pulled out a quote that I think best demonstrates that. He opens his speech by saying, "The hard lesson of this last year has made it very clear that whatever current data proudly bannering our country as among the best performing in Asia means nothing to a Filipino who is confronted by the price of rice at 45 to 65 pesos per kilo." And then he goes on to list accomplishments. But I think that really set the tone of like, I know I'm about to brag about all my accomplishments because that's what Sona is about. But at the same time, I'm acknowledging the fact that regardless of these indicators, these accomplishments, that really means little if everyday Filipinos don't feel that in their lives. And that's just a good demonstration of how he kept the right tone, in my opinion, for a lot of the speech. Not all of the speech, but I think talking about the economy, he really definitely traversed that tone much better than a lot of other presidents that I've seen in the past. And then I think, building on what Carl said, he really is still being graded on a curve because my overall impression is still relief that this sauna and his two last saunas have been normal and predictable, which is a stark contrast from his predecessor who would show up hours late, attack enemies, make very unclear and problematic statements that journalists like me would have to parse through in the hours after, which was very exhausting, not just for journalists, but for people trying to watch and trying to care. So yeah, very low bar. Unfortunately, it really is benefiting him, and he's definitely, in my opinion, still coasting on that very low bar.
Seeing it lang ako dyan before we go to you, Jill, but I think it was very smart na nag-open siya sa bigas. Parang basically you're disarming your opponent's lines of attack by anticipating how they will attack you. And one is not acknowledging how difficult things are right now. And then two is this joke of the 20 peso bigas. And so very disarming na inunahan niya lahat yan. When anyone else might be more inclined to just pretend na wala yun or to just gloss over. So it's smart. These are rhetorical tools. So nasa pagkakasulat yan. So maybe low bar tayo kay President Marcos. Pero to be fair, magaling yung speechwriters niya. I think if you listen, you may dun sa podcast ni Christian Esguerra, Shelo Magno actually breaks down ano ba yung ibig sabihin ng bigas na yan, because he just gives this giant number for the amount of bigas na naging available. And she illustrates why that doesn't really mean as much, but within a rhetorical framework. And Jill, parang you understand all of this rhetoric stuff din eh. Parang once people start building like a way of communicating, you start to believe certain things. So in that, I think magaling. Jill, what did you think?
Yeah, so I agree with you, Carl and Bella, no? So I think yung comment na emotional is, yun nga, coming from low bar. And actually, yung administration din naman niya, no? Yung kanyang PR team, yun din yung pinackage na it will be an emotional one, his most explosive yet. And I think partly because he touched on several topics na yun nga, ina-anticipate, such as yung Pogo, di ba? Very hot issue siya. And then yung West Philippine Sea. Pero in my opinion, they pretty much, just glossed over it. Parang, so hindi ko rin siya yung emotional doon. Parang it's true, and it's important that he touch on this important topics. But I guess nakulangan din ako in terms of kung ano pang meron. So ako personally, may mga gusto ko marinig, like for example, I think we'll get into we'll discuss more this later. Pero for example, about climate justice. So he talked about climate change very briefly, pero not much about climate justice as well as science and technology, na ganong bagay. So more of that later. Siguro coming from that question, for you, ano yung pinaka nag-stand out or ano yung pinaka notable dun sa sinabi ni Marcos? So siguro for this one, let's start with Bella.
For me, I think the fairly lengthy update again on agriculture, just to add to what me and Carl were talking about a while ago, I think it's really important that he started with that because I don't know if our listeners remember, but up until last year, he was in charge of that portfolio, and amid rising prices, he was facing a lot of criticism about that fact that he wouldn't appoint an agriculture secretary and delegate it to someone with more expertise. So I think, again, it was a good preemptive move that he started with that. And again, it was a measured discussion of agriculture. It's not as if he just listed accomplishments without acknowledging the continued challenges that we're still facing. And then there's another quote that I wanted to pull out. He talked about the drug war under his administration. He talked about the fight against dangerous drugs, our bloodless war. I'm quoting him directly now. On the fight against dangerous drugs, our bloodless war on dangerous drugs adheres and will continue to adhere to be established 8 E's of an effective anti-illegal drug strategy. Extermination was never one of them, meaning he's saying exterminating drug addicts was never part of the plan, which I think if we look at the data is not true. Under Duterte and under him, under Marcos, 700 addicts have died. According to the HAS, more than 700. Suspected addicts, suspected pushers, extrajudicially killed. And then he also has this other quote where he says, our law enforcers need to earn the trust of our people, which I think is not really commensurate to how badly they've lost our trust under the drug war. He discussed arrests and seizures as part of the drug war, but there was no acknowledgement of deaths. And then I think another thing we should acknowledge is right before this sauna last week, the HAS, our only remaining drug war tracker, actually tracked the most deaths in the drug war under the Marcos administration. So 15 people died. I think the last time I talked to one of the HAS's researchers, the average was 1 person a day died. So last week, more than 2 people a day died. And also not to mention the fact that most of these killings were perpetrated by state agents. So it would be one thing, I mean, no matter what, it's his responsibility, but it would be one thing if these were vigilantes. But data shows us that it's actually state agents who are committing most of these killings. So yeah.
Thank you, Bella. So how about you, Carl? Anything to add?
Well, I was thinking about yung sino ba yung emotional, and actually emotional yung cheering audience niya, no? Parang at every moment pwede sila mag-cheer. But to be fair, there are certain things that I feel were worth cheering. I mean, to be very transparent about it, it's very hard to be objective about this, no? To be cheering for a Marcos given the baggage. But if I am able to separate, a lot of my personal feelings and kind of just look at this one objectively, there were 3 really big highlights for me. And really 3 things that I can applaud and agree on. And I don't know if I'll cheer the same way na mag-cheer ako na BBM in front of a bunch of people. But these are three things that I can agree on. One is the acknowledgement of the need for support for education. And so hopefully, he talked about textbook acquisition. He talked about subsidies for teachers. I don't know if I agree with that issue specifically, yung bigyan ng allowance para may pambili mga teacher or something, but also the ability to promote teachers so that they stay within the profession. Like, there were a lot of things within education that were mentioned, which I think are very important. And so kung nation building ang usapan, this is really important stuff. Now, when he talks about accurate books, baka doon tayo magkatalo, diba? But as far as other things are concerned, yes, like top line, the push on education is very important. The second is the assertion of our rights over the West Philippine Sea. Sobrang importante. Kailangan natin marinig. Like, nakaabang ako the whole time waiting for that because that is so important to be put out there right now. You cannot talk about the state of our nation without talking about the threat to our nation that is posed by China's incursions into our waters. And so putting that out there here puts, it gives legitimacy to whatever moves we take now. Kasi malinaw na kung ano ang stand natin. I hope that sends a signal not only to us, no, but to our regional neighbors. Ito, naninindigan na tayo about this. And that's very important. I don't care who the president is. Kailangan manindigan tayo dyan. And then the last one, and probably the one that the most emotionally responded to, was the banning of pogos. And, you know, may moment when we were thinking last night, pero kaya ba niyang gawin? Like, sasabihin lang niya, mawala na yung mga pogo. I don't know. But keep in mind, when Duterte just got up and said, patayin natin mga tao, a bunch of people went in and did it because they wanted to. And so I think the backlash against pogos is powerful enough that there will be action on this front because they have really, you know, been problematic for our economy, our society, ganyan. And, di ba, hayaan na natin na bumabaliktad yung mga tao na nagsulong ng pogo, sila mismo yung pumapalakpak na no pogo ngayon. Okay, whatever, di ba? But if that is the decision, that's really important to us. And hopefully this doesn't sound like fall into that racist trap there. Once we start looking at these issues, then we can begin to assert more of what's important to us. Ikaw, Jill.
Yeah, so very good points, Bella and Carl, no? And I agree with everything you said. And ako, ang galing din na tinapos niya yung speech niya sa Pogo on a very high note. So he started his speech on a high note as Bella mentioned, kasi agriculture, and agad yung issue about sa bigas, about sa affordability ng food. So yun, and then ending, di ba? Yung parang medyo kasi ang haba na ng ng speech niya, tapos medyo dragging na, same lang yung tone.
Ang haba ng speech.
Oo, parang may part na yun nga, nagsusone out na yung mga tao kasi parang sobrang monotonous niya, no? Tapos parang siguro parang kung audience ka, maiisip mo na, hintayin ko na lang yung transcript na to. Parang gano'n, di ba? Na parang, basahin ko na lang. Huwag ko nang pakinggan. Ganyan. Tapos biglang in-end niya yung speech niya dun sa West Philippine Sea, then Pogo. Okay yung strategy, I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
But again, if you're gonna dissect the content or yung quality nung message, that's a different story. Yes, Bella.
Can I quickly add before we move on from this question? I just wanted to build on what you and Carl said about, you know, I think we identified the two major sound bites nga of a speech that really at times was boring. But I think the Pogo and the West Philippine Sea, that was immediately what everyone was talking about. And, you know, the Pogo, I think Carl did a great job of discussing that. And in the West Philippine Sea, I just wanted to add how important it is that he be consistent in this position, and, you know, especially consistent when all eyes are on him, which doesn't happen often. Like, Sona's one of the few times that everyone is listening in to hear what the president has to say. And I think, you know, that's again in stark contrast to his predecessor, who for his first SONAs, first four SONAs, whatever it was, would not uphold the arbitral ruling. He did it on his last SONA, and even then, right after he followed it up with his favorite lie, which is if we assert our rights in the West Philippine Sea, that would somehow be tantamount to starting a war with China, which is simply not true. Yeah, so just a stark contrast. And again, one of the reasons that I think that consistency is so important, Carl mentioned it, referring to the Pogos, the people he's addressing are the same people who rode with Duterte when he refused to acknowledge our arbitral ruling. So I think, again, it's important for him to signal to them every opportunity he has that, hey, this is our stance on the West Philippine Sea. So yeah, I just wanted to drive that home. And then finally, I want to mention also that he only identified 2 priority bills. Again, in contrast to Duterte, who would list like 10. So he only listed 2, for better, for worse. I'm not saying that's good. But one, he called on Congress to enable the Loss and Damage Fund. And then number 2, he called for amendments to create or the corporate recovery and tax incentives for enterprises, aka the tax incentives law, which, I won't pretend to know a lot about, but just worth mentioning that these are the 2 things that he called on Congress to do specifically.
Thanks, Bella. So, Carl, may i-add ka ba dun before I go to my third question?
Wala naman substantially, but just to say that I know we're saying, it was a boring sauna and all that stuff, but sa totoo lang, I would like to have boring saunas and boring politics. And I look forward to a day in the Philippines na instead of a fiesta atmosphere pag nangangampanya mga tao, nagde-deliver sila ng mga position paper. That's what I want. I want boring people with policy initiatives talking about those policy initiatives. So this was definitely within that space. And so we may be critiquing that we were bored, but I'm saying boring is good for public service and administration.
Yeah. Thanks,
Agree.
Carl. So, yeah, I also agree. If I'm gonna objective about it, I'm just glad na wala akong narinig na mura.
Yes.
Yun.
Yes.
Yun, sa part na yun. Anyway,
Saka hindi siya nag-riff. Wala siyang side comments, wala siyang
No
riffs.
attacks.
Oo.
No attacks. Yun. Itong next question ko. Ito yung mga favorite ko talagang pinag-uusapan, even past Sonas and the former President Duterte, no? So, very challenging kasi yung mag-deliver ng Sona. Kasi di ba parang you're just given ilang hours, di ba, to talk about the state of the nation, as we know, very broad. Tas all eyes are on you, sectors, waiting na may sabihin kang substantial about their area. Bakit di pinag-usapan tong ganito, ganyan. So, gusto ko tong topic na to. Kung ano yung mga hindi minention or hindi nabanggit.
Yeah.
So, in line with that, for you, Carl, ano yung mga siguro 3 things na nag-strike sa'yo or na-realize mo agad na, oops, hindi niya to sinasabi.
So number 1, no, and ito naman talaga ang bahid sa Marcos candidacy of his presidential candidacy, and it keeps going until now, is the lack of discussion of disinformation. And honestly, I don't know how they will address it, pero he talked about technological advance and investments in upgrading local internet technology, ganon. Pero yung literacy and the use of these things, yan ang isa. And then the second is, when I say disinformation, it's also disinformation campaigns that are directed at us. One, nabalita nga na even our supposed ally, the US, di ba, may CIA operations on disinformation on us. And the very important disinformation campaigns that he wasn't talking about na directed by the Chinese government. And so we see, no, may very apparent is the West Philippine Sea battle. Diba? Kasi geographical yan, space yan. Pero the information space and the lack of discussion on disinformation, ayan, that is something that is so huge. Yan ang kaharap natin every day. And yet, walang banggit nun. Yun isa. Ito, maliit lang. So I don't know if parang 0.5 lang siya. So, but when he talked about improving infrastructure, daming infrastructure, tourism, ganon. Gusto ko nga i-edit ba't natin pinaglayo yung tourism at saka airport? Anyway, but he very clearly called the NAIA, the Ninoy Aquino International Airport, bubuin ko para laging may record. He called the NAIA, the Ninoy Aquino International Airport, the Manila International Airport. So, there have been attempts to rename this airport, to remove Ninoy Aquino's name. And I think this was a very subtle piece of historical revisionism. And that should be a reminder to all of us. For all that I'm praising this speech, yan ang reminder na ay, tuitira pa rin yan ng revisionism. At wag natin kalimutan na it is well within his capacity to do so.
Yeah.
Kasi simple lang yan eh. Pwede naman niya sabihin na iya. Pwede naman niya sabihin Ninoy Aquino, but he did not mention Chacha, which is actually a positive. Let's hopefully put that behind us. Who knows in the coming years, but at least for this year, for this SONA, signal yan na wag muna i-pursue ng mga lawmakers kasi hindi niya binabanggit. And then meron akong minor one, and kasi nakita ko nagpost si Ira Cruz. Wala daw sapat na puro roads, infrastructure na highways, ganyan. Pero yung mobility and being accessible, increased accessibility, lalo na nga na nag-trend yung crazy ramp ng MMDA. Walang mention of serving everyone. So that's a thing na siguro, baka late na, baka nung nag-trend yon, nasulat na yung speech, we do need to take care of everyone in our society. And I think that's something that wasn't part of the conversation.
Yeah.
Those are very insightful, Carl. Bella?
I think for me, it was no discussion of the state of human rights in the country as a whole. Part of that is what I already talked about. He talked about the drug war and its quote-unquote accomplishments, but not the abuses, even though he's acknowledged that there were abuses under President Duterte. And of course, he was referring to the killings, which have continued under him. So no mention of abuses, no mentions for plans of accountability. Another part of human rights is press freedom. The Press Freedom Index was released this year. We're 134 out of 180. That's the difficult or the second worst rating. We fell 2 spots compared to last year, which means under his administration, there has been a demonstrable decline in press freedom. Although I will also say under his administration, we ranked the highest we have in quite a while. I think that was last year, and then we dropped 2 spots. So no mention of that. I think one tangible example of how bad press freedom continues to be in the country, or difficult if we're using Press Freedom Index terms, is community journalist Frenchie May Cumpio marked her 4th year in jail this February for cases that are still pending and that were filed under President Duterte. No mention of that. And no mention of our continued problem with red tagging, even though the Supreme Court recently said that red tagging is threatening to the right to life, liberty, and security. Right after the Supreme Court said that, a few months ago, he was asked if he has plans to abolish the National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict, aka that task force that keeps red tagging people. And he said that he didn't. So in the absence of the willingness to do that, what is he planning to do now that the Supreme Court has said that this practice is endangering our rights? Based on the SONA, nothing. And then, Carl already mentioned no mention of charter change, also no mention of divorce, no signal to Congress to move on that, which is sad because we were hopeful that the change in leadership in Senate would mean that those bills would finally move, divorce, not charter change. But yeah, no mention of that. And, Congress opened earlier that day, and Senate President Cheese Escudero did say that that's not a priority bill for them either. So I think those are signals that we can clock and manage our expectations with. And then my third and final point, no mention of Vice President Sara Duterte because she wasn't there. Just something for us to note, obviously we're aware of the rift, but I think her not being there is just yet another signal of how bad the rift has become. I'll mention again that they ran together. I mean, Lenny missed SONAS as well, but I think that was expected considering the fact that they ran in opposition to one another, her and President Duterte. But yeah, Uniteam not present at the SONA.
Thanks, Bella. Yeah, I agree with everything you and Carl said, no, from yung subtle hints of or subtle ways to revise history and lack of discussion and disinformation, and then not dwelling too much on the topic of human rights, no. So siguro for me yung marami ring mga nag-strike sa akin, as mentioned kanina, there are topics that parang for me, parang gin-gloss over lang. Like when he talked about na meron na lang daw ilang guerrilla fronts sa country and that nasa concluding phase na yung peace talks. Parang hindi ko very big, 'di ba? Yung usapin ng peace talks. So parang even yung mga past administrations, lagi nating naririnig yan, peace talks, peace talks, peace talks. Pero parang wala akong narinig na concrete dun sa kanya. So I don't know if ano yung basis niya to say that there are no more active guerrilla fronts across the country, and hindi niya rin dinatalya ano yung mga ginawa nilang mga integration programs for former rebels to be integrated sa society, and yung mga strategies um, for for the government to ensure lasting peace, 'di ba? Kasi as we all know, armed conflicts naman ay hindi lang din because of, just because ideological extremism like pina-point out ng the mainstream level, but marami rin siyang causes like poverty, injustice. How do we ensure development sa countryside, and how do we ensure na yun nga um, um, respected cultural differences, protected yung ating mga ancestral lands, yung ating indigenous peoples. So hindi na-touch yung mga ganong topic. Na for me, not that I expected him to, pero parang I would have loved to hear more about those things, no? Kasi parang lagi na lang din nasa back end yung usapin about our ancestral lands, our ancestral domains, about our indigenous peoples, and yung nangyayaring conflict. So parang lagi tayong isolated sa nangyayari dun sa Mindanao naman yan, o sa ganito naman yan. Pero that's not how it should be. And I'm just wondering, kailan tayo darating sa ganong point? Yun yung sa end ko, no? Siguro, I want to end our discussion or wrap up our discussion by talking about or by asking you about ano yung expectations ninyo. So from what you heard, ang dami-dami nun, based on the past 2 SONAs, what do you think will happen next? At least in a year before his next SONA.
I think I'll go back to, my somewhat reluctant praise that this was a very measured SONA. What I'm expecting next year is quite different, and that's because midterms are next year. If I have my timeline right, I think elections are in September. SONA would be in July. So I think strategically, he would have to praise himself and his administration a lot more ahead of the midterms if they want their party candidates, even though we don't really know who they are and what their party will be. I think he's going to have to be a lot more braggadocious and, high on himself ahead of those elections. So yeah, I'm expecting maybe a tone that's not as appropriate as what he struck this year. That's it from me.
Well, one, I think, Jill, when you were talking, napaisip talaga ako because marami talagang issues that are not on the table, unfortunately. And, President Marcos Jr. showing himself to actually be trying to be a very middle of the road politician. So he was elected as a, under the name and under a very, very divisive period. Pero that's the thing though, is the reason why none of this is exciting is a lot of these are very old, very traditional policies. And his advisors are doing what is expected, the boring things. And my expectation is that not all of this will be delivered because there's not enough money. Like everything that he's talking about building and launching and all of these programs at lahat ito gagawin natin. I think that's a real challenge. But maybe it's because it's the midpoint. Pero if it's your midpoint SONA and you're still talking about the things you're going to do, but there's not that much in the past that you can actually celebrate, what's that saying also? Diba? If you're trying to the shortcomings of the last few years and you're only saying what's going to happen in the next few years, and we know naman like gano'ng katagal bago maayos ang isang kalsada, diba? Minsan 2 years. So ano yan, naghihintay lang tayo ng things. So in terms of expectations, I'm hopeful that everything remains boring, and I'm hopeful that some of this gets delivered. But also, given the quote-unquote, disunity and all of this stuff that's going on, I actually don't know how much his involvement in the administration of projects is. Like, that's hard for us to see. Diba? It's really to be fair to presidents, it's hard to see what exactly they're able to do. They're able to muster political power and promote specific policies and things like that. Pero to be able to attribute, eto nagawa ni ganyan, eto talagang pinush niya. So for the coming year, let's see. I'm hoping that some of these things that he's promising come through. Do I expect them to? Maybe ano lang, cautiously optimistic.
Ako, siguro observation is, we know who the Marcoses are, right? So alam natin yung yun nga, sabi mo kayo na baggage na meron sila. Ano sila sa history natin, ano sila sa identity natin now as Filipinos. I've always, based on our observation, I think Bongbong Marcos is trying to play it safe all the time. He's very careful about opening old quote-unquote wounds, causing further controversies that will link him to his father or his family, who they were decades ago. So yun yung siguro sa Carl. I think I think at some point parang feeling ko he's deliberately trying to be boring. Diba?
Yes.
Parang part yun ng strategy niya.
Kasi maraming gustong mag-alsa, ganyan. Kasi pag gumawa siya ng kalokohan, mabilis aalsa.
Oo. So he's trying to be safe. And even yung panti-trigger sa kanya ni Sara Duterte and the Dutertes, he's very careful about, reacting to it. Yun. Kasi he knows what's gonna happen. So, may pros and cons ng pagiging ganun niya, yung pagiging parang traditional politician niya. And I need some time siguro pa to process my feelings about it. Kasi parang there are times that I need him to be more aggressive and be more forceful. Pero may times din naman na he needs to step back and be careful. I think he's in a tight spot, especially mag-midterms and then yun nga, given yung issue sa Uniteam. So, I expect na yung susunod na a year before the elections, mas medyo maglililo. Ayun.
Yeah.
Less controversies, the better for him. So, kung mag-work siya, I think he's gonna do it silently and then just announce achievements or progress once ando na talaga siya. Once it's there or it happened. So,
can I tentatively jump in?
Okay.
Can I quickly, not tentatively, but quickly jump in? I think I'm processing everything you guys just said and everything we just talked about and, trying to figure out what I expect and don't expect from this administration. And I think just building off what you both said, tentatively expect some innovation, some improvement, a lowering of the tone from the previous administration, which I think is really a strength of theirs, even though it's a low bar. So I tentatively expect some improvement. What I don't expect, which is the word that I was trying to grasp for while I was listening to you guys talk, what I don't expect is justice. I think you see that, throughout what he didn't mention, the way he framed certain issues. And as Carl and even you, Jill, have pointed out, that baggage nga. There are certain things he simply cannot and won't do because his last name is Marcos. And what I don't expect from him these next 2-3 years of his administration, any real progress on justice, whether that has to do with recovering the ill-gotten wealth, which as the president, he is in charge of, technically the final say on recovering their ill-gotten wealth because the PCGG is a presidential commission, or the drug war, which despite his rift with Duterte, he is held firm on our leaving the ICC and them not having jurisdiction here. Yeah. Sadly, that's what I don't expect from him. And I think that does work in his favor, that we've all kind of gently accepted that that's not what we're going to get from him.
Yeah, well, to follow that up before we close it out. One, hindi naman siya talaga pwede magsalita about human rights. Diba? It's not like he can go and start advancing human rights without acknowledging the history.
Yes.
So but I think I have adjusted my framework to looking at what are the things that he is actually going to advance. At ito yung gusto niyong pag-usapan eh. Hanggang dyan lang yung usapan natin. And I think, hindi naman I don't think it's wrong for you to demand justice. But within the confines of kung ano sasabihin niya sa SONA at saka this president has the political backing. You could hear it, literally. Nagsisigawan yung mga tao pag may mga points that they like about him. So, I think he has the capacity to advance any kind of policy that he likes. And the question is, where will he direct that political bill? And I do think that, to be fair to him, he's actually concerned with legacy. Kaya siya maingat eh. I think there were things earlier in the administration that they were shooting for. Parang medyo nagalit mga tao sa mga ibang bagay. Pero you notice na it's been very hard for us to be angry at things for the last year because there's been very little risk-taking on the policy side and on the administration side. If there have been challenges or gaffes, they've been political chismis or they've been at a lower level, hindi siya sa presidential level apart from maybe the Coldplay concert, ganun. So talagang iwas siya sa gulo. And that's how we view him. Iwas siya sa gulo, which means there's going to be very little risk-taking. But he wants to be liked internationally. He wants to be seen as someone who's advancing economy and getting investments and stuff. Whether all of the loans from these investments are going to work out for us, I don't know. Meron siyang attempt to look good. And I think that's one thing we can expect. He's going to try to continue to court international community and at the very least our local business community and show that there's some stability here. Sorry, nagdagdag ako tayo.
Yeah, thank you, Carl and Bella. And actually, this discussion we had since hapon lang yung SONA, diba? It's very fresh. Ito na yung debrief ko. This is my... So, ang dami ko rin na-realize while talking to you. Marami rin ng takeaways. Something, yung iba good, yung iba bad, yung iba sad. Like what Bella said, na parang tungkot din na we expect na nung magpo-progress yung justice, pero somehow we know na yun yung mangyayari. Pero siguro, ang ano ko lang doon is, siguro just to close this one is, lahat ng pinag-usapan natin ngayon, yung mga binanggit ni Marcos and yung mga hindi niya binanggit, it also, they also serve as a compass for us journalists kung ano yung mga tututukan nating mga issues and topics the next few months. Or until the next SONA. Well, lagi naman tayong nandun sa point na yun. Pero I think as we get more familiar with his administration, his leadership, his style of governance, mas nagiging challenge for us to be sharper sa mga natin, sa mga stories natin na nilalabas about him and about his government. And thank you so much, Carl and Bella, for having this conversation with me. And thank you sa listeners natin. We hope that you found this conversation insightful. We would appreciate if you could share this episode to your friends. So this episode was hosted by me, Jill Caro, and edited by Mark Casillan, with editorial support from our senior editor, Robbie Alampay. So make sure you follow Teka Teka on Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcast so you can continue to get slow news that matters to you. Thank you.
Thanks.